yeah, too much. I'm thinking of what is really already happening out there. And in terms of what we have to do, and I know we've touched on this, we have to find a structure for what is already happening out there.
Okay.
Because what is happening out there is that not only in theory, but in fact, and in not too long distant, in not the very distant future, uh, in fact, for everybody, universal, is people are already interconnected and interrelated. I mean, I watch people on the subways. I've been watching baseball because we're into baseball season now, and I love baseball. And I
Okay.
see the fans, they're sitting there in the stadium watching the game, but they still have their smartphone in their hand. They're still in contact with, I don't know, some of them may be speaking to their sister in Timbuktu. Others are bringing up the statistics of the player and the situation at hand. Others may be doing all sorts. But the thing is that they're already connected with each other. We've
Yes.
talked about, and I think what we have to do is to find a form of government that takes advantage of what already is, instead of trying to create something that is going to require a certain system of communications.
But maybe all these new technologies, Boris, are still in experimental form from the viewpoint of the user. Okay, somebody will go to the ball game and be texting or talking on the phone with someone else while the game goes on. It's because they go to the game and they're not totally immersed in the game. They have this sort of urgency to do several things at the time, which the technology now allows you to do. Okay, and we still don't know uh, if this sort of behavior is going to produce something extra. We're worried about new forms of government, and when people are using their phones to connect to their family or friends or whatever while they're watching the game, that's not going to do it for what we need. Uh, we the society needs formal structures. Okay,
Mhm.
uh, the state, the organization of society, needs formality in the sense that you have to have certainty of the way it works, the expectancy of what's going to do, if it's going to be required to do things, if you're going to grant those um, features as a right of people, then we're going to need some sort of formality. So I concede that people are connecting in ways that they never connected before. But as far as organizing society, those connections have to be, in a way, formal. People have to know the rules. People know if you want your opinion to be heard in matters of, let's say, the environment or security or even, let's say, the running of the city or something, then this is the way that you can participate. Okay, it's there has to be some sort of channel approved and authorized and installed where you can participate and see others participating and know that everything that's being said is being recorded or exchanged or in some way saved for people to look at those opinions later. So what people are doing right now is they're experimenting with these new technologies, but I haven't seen any real improvement in the way we're using the technology. I just wrote an article on the paper. I'm going to get out the license plates for a new car, and they tell me to use my iPhone to take pictures of the car and the number of of the car, and then have me send that to the officials for the registration. But they do this, and then they print the papers with the photographs I just took, and they print all the papers. They're gonna study them, and then when they get done, they're gonna send those back into digital form again. So why go through the paper phase? I don't know. We are still not redesigning the institutions. We're not redesigning the procedures. We're really not too wise on how to use the new technologies. We're just
Well,
learning.
no, I agree with you. By the way, the technology, I don't know if you have seen it recently, but one of the cell phone companies has a program they offer. You can cash a check. If you're given a check, you cash it by taking a picture with your smartphone and sending it to the bank, and the money is deposited to your account, which is doing exactly what you say. It's skipping all the bullshit of the paper and print and this and the other.
Yes.
It's just taking, and I'm sure that image is being recorded just like they record today, transactions plus 15 or less 20 in terms of transactions on the account. So that's the evidence of it. It's direct. But no, I agree. We're saying the same thing. What I'm focusing on is that we already have technology that permits each and every person on the face of this planet to connect with each and every other one by so choosing. Now, and I think what you're saying, the way I interpret what you're saying, and I agree with you, now we have to invent the structure that will turn that technology into a system of government. We have to
Exactly.
structure and in this particular case, because we're talking about government, because we're talking about social systems, the structure really is to create the rules of engagement
Absolutely.
using that technology.
That's right.
And
So this is when we have to look at the institutions, and the one way to do it is look at the assumptions that went into the structures that we have right now, and then you will notice that those assumptions are no longer valid.
exactly, that's why we go back to 1776, as I keep on going back to the Declaration of Independence, because those are the assumptions on which this system is premised. But not only is that the assumptions, you have to put the assumptions in the context of the facts and conditions that then existed. Time and place.
Well, I was understanding by the assumptions uh, the circumstances and not so much the objectives. Let's call the Declaration of Independence the objectives or the goals of how to proceed with government, the new system of liberties that are expressly being approved through a consensus. And what I mean by the assumptions are the material conditions that went into designing of how the U.S. Congress works. This um, meeting 4 months a year or 3 months a year, whatever, is because of the transportation limitations. Those are to me, the assumptions. And the new assumptions is we can now communicate with anyone at any moment, and if he's not there, we can even leave a video message. You see, so we still need to have some sort of collective brain taking decisions, okay? But the collective brain that the founding fathers invented was to get people together in the same house, in the same Congress and the Senate, and let them speak one at a time while the others supposedly are listening. And then you'll get an endless discussion, and then you start needing committees and subcommittees. And that's the way you try to solve the problem of 500 people doing nothing while somebody's talking. So they didn't have smartphones. They couldn't uh, talk on the phone or send messages while somebody else was listening. Probably they just slept or talked between themselves while somebody else was talking. So all that system is now totally obsolete. So uh, we don't want to create just one single collective entity, let's say one single brain for the whole country. We need to create many, many brains that will work according to some sort of specialty, whether energy or transportation or any of the vital functions for a society. So we could create many of those collective brains, have people participate according to their knowledge, and we would be much better off than we are right now, I think.
Well, yes, because we're creating, what we have to do is to invent a new set of rules that
Yes,
enable us to work together
absolutely.
because of the fundamental change that has taken place between 1776 and now, which is summarized on the one word, technology. So we have to create, well, and we have the model. I think we've talked about it before, and we know what the model is. When you say creating several brains or brains to deal with these matters, yeah, that is the form or the principles of the structure that are given to us by the human brain.
You
That's
see,
the model for creating these brains, I think. Of course, the human brain has technology, which, and I'll use that word very loosely, which enables the neurons to communicate with each other that we can't even dream or imagine right now.
that's correct.
But, but we are moving in that direction. And that's why I focus on these people that I see at the baseball games with their smartphones, because no matter where you are in the world, you have a way of communicating with any other person on the planet or persons, no matter where they are in the
Yes,
world. And because the communication is instant, what has changed dramatically since 1776 and now is that time and distance was a very important consideration in 1776. Today it isn't. Today,
well,
those constraints have practically disappeared.
somebody at a baseball game can be telling his brother in South Africa, let's say, why don't you try this solution for your local government? Okay,
Exactly. That's
so he would become part of a network of his brother's network, okay, as a collaborator, without even being a citizen.